We got this special size drill bit here and some rev nuts, all kinds of crazy hardware. Brackets. Ridetech. So this is a bolt-in Ridetech. I guess it's like a saddle. So basically we're going to have our 4-link uppers off of here, and then on the bottom there's a bunch of adapters, basically spacers, so that we can put longer links in the bottom. So there's your long ones, there's your upper short ones. And now it's called a bolt-in kit, and I'm not going to fault Ridetech for anything because this is the car we're working on. We're going to try to make that fit. So what we got is a 67 Camaro. Car is a convertible, and brand new quarters, trunk lid, but that don't matter. What's important here, brand new floor, brand new frame rails in the back, and then here we got the one-piece floor, which basically went from right there, comes all the way to the front. Now a lot of people will stop there, but in this case they went all the way up to here. So the whole bottom of the car is aftermarket. I didn't put this car together. It was something somebody else put together. But I'm on pretty good authority that the guy that put this together knew what he was doing. So whether the dynacorn stuff is exactly what stock had, which I doubt, and the reason I doubt that is because they kind of explain that when they make a lot of this stuff, especially frame rails and stuff, so the aftermarket stuff, they're making them thicker, heavier, which causes a little bit of a problem. So I put tape in a few places on this to scratch it less. We've decided we're going to have to paint it anyway, so it's out on the floor, but anyway, it's all well to say that that'll bolt right in a car, but this car has been repaired. And like page 1 or 2 of the instructions, they pretty much tell you that when you go to put it in, it's come right under the car. So when you go to put it in, you got to massage stuff sometimes. And the factory had so many variances. So variance number 1, if you look down the rail, they kind of taper in. So you can only push it forward so far because it's kind of built like a triangle, the saddle from Ridetech. And you want to get, here, let's see if we can look at how the frame is here. Now if you look right there, you can see where something scratched and marked it. The frame was sticking there. You can see up there as well a little bit. So those are basically high spots, right here and right here where it rubbed. We're going to take our hammer, we're just going to gently tap that in to make it a little easier for us. And on this side actually fit pretty good, and it basically only rubbed a little bit on the line down here. The rest of it, there was a bit of a gap. So there could be variances in how the rails are made, and I'm sure there was right from GM. But we do know sometimes this stuff is thicker. Now I know on the one-piece bodies, I was talking to Ridetech on the phone, and they said if you have an aftermarket body from Dynacorn, the early bodies, not the later bodies, the earlier bodies, the frame was quite a bit bigger, made stronger, but you had about almost an inch less room in between the two. So your outside would be stock, but your inside might be wider. So I don't know if that's still the case. As they get newer, they seem to get better. And that ain't necessarily bad. The fact is, these are a leaf spring car, and if you're restoring it, you want certain things stronger probably anyway. Doing a 4-link in something like this, you know, it's not really common. I mean, I guess it's kind of common. Generally speaking, back in the day, I used to do a lot of race car stuff. We'd basically weld solid plates all in, cage this in. We'd basically make that saddle welded right to the car. We made all our own joints and all this. But the cool thing with this bolt-in setup, it should be close enough that even if you got to modify that or modify the car, it might be that it's all at the right heights and stuff, so the math is close. And if the math is close, your geometry will be good. You'll have less issues, which is kind of cool. Now what ridetech does, you can see how these cars have at the front of the spring, you can see the spring perch there. So basically the spring comes out of there, we drill the holes bigger, there's a pin that goes through, it's a bolt, but it's like a hardened pin. And then our link will literally go to where the leaf spring used to go. And the cool thing is, there it says you got to weld everything. Well, you got to weld some, but these perches here, the new ridetech piece bolts to this perch, and a U-bolt is used to hold it up. And then there's different fit holes, like adjustment holes, where you can run your tube. And from what I understand, that has more to do with, on some cars you got to measure this here. If you have an inch, it was a monoleaf car, and if you have 2 inches, it might have been a multi-leaf car, in which case you got to use a second set of holes. But they're all drilled, so that's pretty easy stuff. Now if you go watch a few videos, you can see where I just have the bolt sitting in there, because there's a plate that goes on the top. We're gonna have to actually drill 5 holes, but we only did 2. I did have that in here. What was happening is it wouldn't go close to the frame here because it had bottomed out against this, and then right here. So this is, you can see, let me back out of the way here. That's where your gas tank strap goes. You can see how this is reinforced. There's going to be a hole in here. There's a plate that goes on the other side. So 2 bolts go in here and here. 5 bolts go across there. And then these ones that go up, there's 5 down each side and then 4 on the bottom. So we're going to have to put a bunch of riv nuts in, which is going to be daunting and it's going to suck. But we'll get them in. When I say that, I'm not saying it's impossible. It's just a lot of work. So you can see how the floor is hammered up quite a bit. And it looks like when you hammer this up, you can come up to about here, and then, I mean, you're pretty much going to run out of room. You can see here how it kind of goes up. Now, one thing with some of these floors, you'll note that they kind of arc. So in the middle, you got to knock it up, but mostly on the edges, which is good. Now, there's a plate that goes to the bottom off the saddle, but there's a reinforcement plate that sits inside, and you bolt through it, and it sandwiches all these layers of steel together. So it should be pretty tough. Like, their design is pretty good, and realistically, if you need something stronger than that, you should back half your car. So I'm going to say ridetech did a pretty neat thing there. As far as bolt-in, the only way to know how good the bolt-in theory is if you have an original car that's very healthy, very untouched, and you mount the ridetech 4-link upper whatever support in, and if it fits good, then you know. Everything, I'm in Ontario, Canada, salt has eaten everything, so we're importing these cars that are 40, 50 years old up from the States, or we're doing like this car, brand new floor, brand new floors, like, it's all brand new, the whole car, but it's also all aftermarket. So is it better? Is it worse? Well, it's definitely going to be a little different. I'm going to say it's probably at this point better, because anything you got, even if it's decent, like if you look up here, there's a hollow in there. There's probably rust in there in an original car, right? There was a lot of places where they didn't even paint in behind the panels. So even if the tin, the sheet metal's all there, you got to question how thin it might become. So anyway, just wanted to show you mainly where that had to be all smashed up, and I'm going to try to fit it in, and we'll do another video. Cheers.